Hey there, pirates. Welcome aboard the Anime No Me channel. Yes, One Piece is full of foreshadows, or better said, hints of what's coming in the future. Everyone knows that, but there are so many you probably didn't notice. And that's fine, because today we've gathered a bunch of them for you. So drop a like, subscribe, and let's get started. I hope for your support to help our crew win, and to do so, you just need to click the thumbs up button, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. By doing this, you will win an incredible devil fruit. So just comment which fruit you want. Guys, let's begin with a bombshell Oda dropped way back in chapter 503 during the Sabaody arc. Doflamingo, the most stylish villain with sunglasses, mentions smiles while laughing like a psychopath. At the time, it sounded like a random name, but in chapter 685, during Punk Hazard, we find out that smiles are artificial devil fruits created by Caesar Clown, the backbone of Kaido's army in Wano. Think about how bold Oda was. He planted the name of a massive plot twist almost 200 chapters earlier. In chapter 698, right after Punk Hazard, Doflamingo reveals that smiles are his merchandise for Kaido, turning henchmen into bizarre Zoans. Fun, right? It's like Oda was saying, you thought it was just villain talk? Here's an army of smiling monsters. This clue shows how Doflamingo's trade links Sabaody to Wano. Chapter 957, proving Kaido's plan to dominate the seas started way earlier. This foreshadow is Oda laughing in our faces while setting up the board. Now, here's a hint that made fans scratch their heads. In chapter 795, during Zoo, Momonosuke blurts out that he met Goldie Roger. How if Roger died 22 years earlier, chapter 0? It sounded like a child's fantasy, but in chapter 920, Oda reveals that Toki, Momo's mother, had the Toki no Mi, which lets you travel through time. Momo and the Red Scabbards leapt 20 years forward from Wano's past, when Roger was still sailing. Chapter 966, Odin's flashback. Crazy, right? In chapter 968, Roger visits Wano and Momo, still a baby, was there. His line in Zoo wasn't nonsense. It was proof Oda had planned Toki's power from the start of the arc. Imagine Momo at 8 years old saying, I met the Pirate King, and he was really loud. This foreshadow ties Roger's past to Luffy's future, showing that time in One Piece is as stretchy as the captain himself. In chapter 593, after Marineford, the Revolutionary Army appears with mysterious crows flying around Dragon. At first, it looked like just a stylistic touch, like a shady, bearded guy needs creepy birds. But in chapter 904, during Reverie, Karasu, a revolutionary commander, reveals that his Susu no Mi controls soot, which he shapes into crows. Those birds weren't decoration, they were living weapons. In chapter 1083, Karasu uses his crows to attack Marihoa, showing just how dangerous they are. Fun, right? It's like Oda was saying, you thought they were just birds? They're soot drones of the revolution. This hint, dropped 300 chapters earlier, links the revolutionaries' early look to their tactical strength, proving even the smallest details in One Piece serve an epic purpose. In chapter 310, during Water 7, a color spread shows Luffy with a cute pink dragon. At the time, it seemed like just random artwork, but in chapter 795, Momonosuke reveals his pink dragon form with the Uo no Mi model Siryu. Oda foreshadowed Momo's fruit years earlier in an illustration. By chapter 1001, Momo's dragon faces Kaido, proving the pink creature isn't just a mascot, it's a symbol of Wano. Genius, right? An art piece from 2004 predicted the Wano arc in 2018. Imagine Luffy looking at the page saying, hey, that dragon's my buddy Momo. This foreshadow is Oda playing fortune teller, connecting an old illustration to Wano's core story and Joy Boy's legacy, chapter 1043. In chapter 765, during Law's flashback in Dressrosa, a boy is shown being rescued in the background of Flevence's tragedy. Only in chapter 956, post-Wano, do we confirm it was X-Drake, a future supernova and sword spy. Oda hid a future pirate captain in the corner of a flashback. By chapter 981, Drake infiltrates Kaido's army, and his presence in Flevence explains why he knows Law so well. Fun, right? It's like Oda hid a baby dinosaur in a tragic scene and said, I bet you didn't notice. This clue connects Law's past to Wano's spy games, showing that even background characters have a destiny in One Piece. In chapter 685, during Punk Hazard, Momonosuke refuses stew with what seemed like over-the-top fear. Only in chapter 919, Wano's flashback, do we understand, his father Odin was executed by being boiled alive. The stew triggered his trauma. Oda turned a silly moment into a gut punch. In chapter 971, Odin's execution is shown in full, and Momo's fear makes perfect sense. Think about the emotion. A child refusing food because of such heavy trauma. Not fun, but brilliant how Oda planted this clue so early, linking Punk Hazard to Wano's emotional core. This foreshadow shows that even childish fears have deep roots. In chapter 41, back in East Blue, Sanji casually jokes about ships climbing mountains, laughing like it's nonsense. Years later, in chapter 865 during Whole Cake Island, we discover that Germa 66's technology, Sanji's family makes crazy things like amphibious ships possible. Oda teased Sanji's true past before we even knew who the Vinsmokes were. Imagine Sanji at the Baratie saying, "Ships that climb mountains? Who knows, maybe I'm from a place like that." In chapter 852, Sanji's past with Germa is revealed, and the joke turns into a hint of his technological legacy. This foreshadow is Oda laughing while tying East Blue to Whole Cake's drama. In chapter 489, during Thriller Bark, Lola gives Nami a Vivre card, saying it'll help her in the future. At the time, it seemed like just a quirky ally's gift, but in chapter 825, during Whole Cake Island, that Vivre card leads the Straw Hats to Lola, who turns out to be Big Mom's daughter, saving the day. Oda turned a piece of paper into a plot twist. Picture the scene: Nami holding the Vivre card in Whole Cake, chapter 846, saying, "Thanks Lola, you're a zombie angel." Fun, right? It's like Oda hit a master key in Thriller Bark. This foreshadow links separate arcs, showing that even small gestures carry weight in One Piece. On the cover of volume 25, chapter 234, Luffy, Blackbeard, Buggy, and Shanks all appear together in an artwork that seemed like pure fan service. But in chapter 957, after Wano, all of them are confirmed as Yonko. Oda foreshadowed the four emperors years earlier on a cover from 2002. In chapter 1059, Buggy officially becomes a Yonko, completing the prophecy. Fun, right? It's like Oda drew that cover thinking, "I'm gonna make these four rule the seas, just wait." This visual clue connects the past to the future, proving that even One Piece covers are part of the master plan. In chapter 672, during Punk Hazard, Kinemon reacts with rage when he sees a dragon, which seemed like nothing more than a samurai's random grudge. But in chapter 920, during Wano, we learn that Kaido, the tyrant who ruined Kinemon's life, has the Ua no Mi Model Seiryu, a dragon form. His hatred was personal. In chapter 1001, Kinemon fights Kaido in fury, and the Punk Hazard hint finally makes sense. Picture the anger, Kinemon glaring at the dragon and shouting, "Damn flying lizards!" It's fun to imagine Oda hiding Wano's trauma in what looked like a random reaction. This foreshadow ties Punk Hazard to Wano's climax, showing that every hatred has a story behind it. Now, to close with a golden touch, let's talk about one of the most emotional and brilliant hints of all, coming straight from Marineford. In chapter 579, while Luffy and the others are in the middle of the war, we see a dialogue between the Marines and the Admirals, where they mention the figure of a sea monster. That monster is nothing less than a direct reference to Luffy's future clash with a gigantic being, Kaido himself, the greatest monster of the seas. What's incredible about this foreshadow is that at the time, no one imagined Kaido was already being set up. Even if it wasn't a crystal clear clue, Oda's choice to use the phrase sea monster already made us wonder, who would this true monster be? Now we see that Kaido isn't just another villain, he's the ultimate enemy of the Straw Hat Pirates, which gives a whole new weight to that seemingly simple comment. And considering that Kaido's very name is tied to being the strongest creature in the world, it's clear how Oda masters the art of connecting what looks trivial to what becomes essential in the main story. Everything in One Piece is planted with care, like a tree that slowly grows and reveals its full majesty over the years. On top of that, there's another Oda hint that looks amazing in hindsight. When Ace talks about his future and mentions that his life is a constant search for freedom, Oda wasn't just giving the character a motivation, he was also laying the groundwork for Luffy's greatness. His brother. That search for freedom doesn't just belong to Ace, it extends to Luffy's entire journey. In the end, he becomes the protagonist destined to bring true freedom to the world as the Pirate King. What makes Oda's foreshadowing so special is that it isn't just prediction, it's an emotional bond with the fans. Each hint is like a puzzle piece that only fits later, and that creates a unique connection between the creator and the audience. When we look back and realize Oda already knew how everything would fit together, we can't help but be amazed by his ability to plan every arc so meticulously. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.